Welcome to the Cast Off. This is the #1 recasting show on the internet where two contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. I'm your host, Craig Price, back live. We are celebrating the fact that No Time to Die hits theaters next week on the 8th. So here at Cast Off, we're going to take a shot at recasting one of the best Daniel Craig Bond flicks, Skyfall. But before we get to that, here to make the next holder of a license to kill is Richard Jensen and Sam Mattos. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right, sir.
She's doing pretty good.
She's got the thumbs up. So we're going to start with Richard. Richard, you're going to be in the L.A. area despite the warrant you had for your arrest. You're coming down for the film festival, correct?
That's how rumors get started. Now, yes, I'm actually going to be at the Silicon Beach Film Festival. It's running from October 1st to October 7th, but I'm only going to be there for the first day because my short, near the end but not quite there, is screening at 3:30 p.m. in the D block at the Chinese Theater.
Ooh, the Man's Chinese Theater, where Star Wars had its premiere. So
yes,
tell me about your movie.
Near the end but not quite there. It's just this kind of short 4-minute piece. It's about two Generation Xers, no, not Generation Xers, Generation Zers facing the new millennium. It's kind of an interesting stylistic piece with a kind of an ode to Bergman going on with it. Well,
a 4-minute short, I won't have you describe it because you could probably do it frame by frame in 4 minutes and it'll take us about 3.5. But your opponent tonight, glad to have her back, Sam Mattos. Sam, how is the Me versus You podcast going?
It's going fantastically. We just did Westerns, and I watched Blazing Saddles for the first time in 2021, which was interesting. It was interesting.
Well, so you saw Mungo, and you saw the sheriff, and now you know all about the beans and all kinds of stuff. So how did you like the movie?
I actually really enjoyed it. I love anything that Gene Wilder's in, so I was a little surprised that I hadn't seen it. And I love, my favorite part of it, just spoilers right now, was when Mungo showed up and the sheriff literally did like a scene from Looney Tunes complete with the Looney Tunes music. I almost fell out of my bed while I was watching it.
Well, it's one of those kismet things of history. The original actor that was supposed to be Gene Wilder's part was unfortunately a horrible alcoholic and couldn't make it on set, and they literally, Mel Brooks was like, I got 3 days to find a replacement. I gotta call my buddy, and called up Gene, and Gene came to rescue him, and the rest is cinematic history.
Love it.
That is a great movie. Movie you couldn't make now, but I still think it's awesome, and I think you should be able to make it now because the things they bring up are important about race and how things, and Richard Pryor helped write it, so it definitely wasn't just a one-sided view of the world. But
exactly, I think that everything that would have been triggering was done with just enough satire that you need a little bit more satire to get paid today.
Absolutely. But Blazing Saddles, still fun, still amazing. But we have a game to play, so let's get to the rules. And the rules are simple as we continue on. They are, we'll put up an actor. In this case, it'll be a James Bond actor. Probably Daniel Craig will be the first one, I'm guessing. You're going to give me a replacement for him. The person with the best choice gets a point. If you get the secret selection, I have also choose. You get an extra point. That's a good way if you start falling behind. If you can lock into and sync up with Craig's brain, you might be able to get 2 points out of it. Person with the most points wins. And of course, if there's a tie, a double feature to win, which we'll talk about when and if that happens. But as always, this show is brought to you by Matinee Heroes, or as we do in October, Matinee Villains. This Saturday, we kick it off with financial scumbag Jordan Belfort in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street with guest Devin Pike.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is a very good one, and that'll kick off a theme for the month of Matinee Villains Month, where I believe the villain is mostly capitalism, as you'll see, as we do Glengarry Glen Ross, They Live, and then we do some horror movies near the end of the month. So you can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe to follow the podcast, and you can always hear tonight's post show exclusively on the audio version of Cast Off every Thursday in the Matinee Heroes feed. And if you're enjoying the cast-off, while you're over there at matineeheroes.com, head over to matineeheroes.com/cast-off so you can subscribe to the video feed at YouTube, Twitch, and other places. Believe me, we need as many subscribers as we can get. So let's delve into Her Majesty's Secret Service and recast James Bond and Skyfall. We flipped the coin, and Richard, you are going first. And, of course, that person is going to be Daniel Craig's James Bond. And in some people's minds, he has become the best James Bond. Who is your favorite James Bond?
It's a tie between Craig and Connery.
All right. Well, those are the two ones you wanted because it's the first and the last. So you've covered the entire gamut with that one. So, Richard, thinking about Daniel Craig, Sean Connery, and all the other Bonds and what makes up a good Bond, who do you have to be the next James Bond?
Well, I kind of went a little outside the box. I didn't go full British. I wanted somebody who would embody the Craig era concept of Bond as a blunt weapon instrument. And I went with the cooler king himself, Mr. Steve McQueen.
Oh, controversial pick. Steve McQueen as you go with a non-English James Bond, and everybody outside of America is flipping their wigs. But but if you look, I try to get the most James Bondish looking Steve McQueen picture I could. He's got the cool car, he's got the suit. I think this is from the Thomas Crown Affair, but he's a man's man. And known for being in a lot of movies that start with The Blob, The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, The Thomas Crown Affair, and The Towering Inferno. But that is a solid first pick from Richard. So we'll start with Sam's James Bond. Sam, who do you have to go up against Steve McQueen and replace Daniel Craig?
Well, no one can replace Daniel Craig. I'd have
someone's going to. I can guarantee it.
True. I would also say that my favorite James Bonds are Craig and Connery. But I was going for someone, especially with Skyfall's plot of sort of, spoilers, but sort of a resurrection of sorts. Someone who I think could portray sort of the jaded but powerful James Bond while also getting a little bit of redemption after death. I picked Richard Madden, famously from Game of Thrones.
Yes, known for the King of the North in Game of Thrones, but he's a pretty good actor himself and very handsome. So you're going with a younger version. He was in Rocket Man, 1917. He was in Cinderella, and you'll see him in the new Eternals coming out supposedly in November. I always have to say supposedly with every premiere. If it wasn't for the fact they're selling tickets for James Bond, I think that's definitely going to happen on the 8th. But but knowing them, they'll probably change it because I've put this out here into the world.
You secreted it into the world, and now it's going to change.
So, he's very good. I tried to find a nice James Bond picture of him as well. I like the Jay Leno gray at the front. It's not as skunk-like as Jay Leno's. It's more dapper.
And he's probably funnier than Leno too.
I will say Jay Leno as a stand-up before he became Milquetoast Late Night was a very funny guy. Not anymore. He kind of mellowed out because you have to be pretty much middle of the road for Peoria in the middle of the night. So we have Steve McQueen, Richard Madden. The judges decided Richard Madden, so Sam gets the first point. I went with Clive Owen, who's always been rumored, but I just think he would have been a great James Bond. I think he might be a little too old right now, but a slightly younger version of what he is now, maybe a 2010 Clive Owen would have been great. Well, now we move on to the person in charge, Dame Judy Dench as M, who has played M for several Bonds. She's only one of like 3 M's, so she's fairly strong. She reminds me of an Angela Merkel kind of M. So Sam, who do you have playing leader of the Secret Service for British intelligence?
I thought that this could be a really good role where, especially if we're rebooting with a younger James Bond, we have someone who's taken on the mantle and knows exactly what advice they're giving because they've done it before. I selected Timothy Dalton, specifically like Penny Dreadful Timothy Dalton. Like he's seen some stuff.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. I tried to find an older picture of him without the beard because I don't think M would have the beard.
No.
But this is the most casual I've seen Timothy Dalton, because he's almost always an aristocratic person. As in Flash Gordon, very dashing, very good in The Living Daylights, and was a fantastic villain in The Rocketeer. All three of those you can find in our back catalog at matineeheroes.com. But he's also done some good, like in Hot Fuzz, he was very good. And of course, everyone makes mistakes, and he was in Beautician and the Beast.
Yeah.
So now we go back to Richard. Richard, who do you have going up against a former Bond? Because he was the forgotten Bond. I think a lot of people don't. They kind of, when they talk about it, Lasby gets the big. He only was in one, but he gets the big remembrance because he was the next after Connery. I think Dalton kind of gets glossed over, though he was very good in the role. He
was good, but that's actually a podcast topic, not a game show topic, so I'm going to shine past that. I had for M, I still went with a woman, and I went with somebody who is strong, tough, kind of partition. I went with Sigourney Weaver.
Nice. You're still skewing the British version, so you're really just pissing everybody off. This is the CIA. This is not MI6.
Hey, I'm Irish, so, the British, I'm not scared of them.
Yeah, well, I don't remember you, like, rising up and actually winning a lot of things, but either. So she is known as a badass alien killer, which means she kills the aliens, as in alien movies. Great in Ghostbusters, great in Galaxy Quest, underappreciated in Galaxy Quest, but she can be the bad guy, and she was in Working Girl, where she was Harrison Ford's girlfriend, who was kind of the mean boss. And then, of course, I think the person you're thinking of that would fit this role perfectly is her portrayal in The Cabin in the Woods at the end, where she's kind of like the head mistress of everything.
I actually forgotten about Cabin in the Woods, but yeah, you're right. That's a good point. That might have been in the back of my head when I came up with her.
And Sigourney Weaver, we saw her a couple years ago at Comic Palooza. She is going to be an exquisite-looking corpse, because she's beautiful at all ages. I'm sure she's going to, like, we'll have her bones displayed and be like, ooh, these are beautiful bones, because she's just, she never looks unattractive. She's just amazing. So we have Timothy Dalton. Yeah, great. She's got great genes. I'm sure she wears them all the time. Timothy Dalton, Sigourney Weaver. The judges decided to stick with the lady and go with Sigourney Weaver. So, Richard, you have tied it up.
All right.
I went with Margo Martindale.
That's a good show.
Who always
Character
plays
actress Margo Martindale.
Say that again?
Oh, from BoJack Horseman, she's character actress Margo Martindale.
That's right. And she always plays women who know what they're doing, even in the weird situations, whatever they're in, whether it's in The Americans or any other character job she does. She's always the lady who knows what's happening and knows what's going on. I think she'd be a really good M. But now we've got to move on to the bad guy. And this is Javier Bardem's Raul Silva, whose main goal is basically to discredit and kill M in this movie. That seems to be the whole thing. And then, of course, I didn't want to put the picture of it, but he has that weird jaw problem that he can pull out and shows to everybody. It's like my grandfather with his dentures. He used to show those out and chase the kids around the house. I wonder if Javier Bardem's Raul will do that as he gets older. But I don't really think he makes it through the movie. So, Richard, who do you have playing the bad guy?
Well, I went with Doctor Who rules. I went with somebody, same ethnicity and same kind of energy. I went with Ricardo Montalban. Ah,
yes. Known for making fantasies come true, thanks to Fantasy Island. And I tried to find a color picture of him very young. There are not too many of them. They're mostly from Planet of the Apes, but he was a good-looking dude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was great-looking until he got old, but he was good-looking when he was young.
Oh, if you go back and see some of his early Mexican films, he is gorgeous.
Well, of course, he was Khan in Wrath of Khan, in the 1970s Planet of the Apes movies, Cannonball Run 2. He was in The Naked Gun and Spy Kids movie, because mostly the TV guy, especially later on. But so there were some movies that he really just kind of played himself as he got older, which, if you're Ricardo Montalban, that's who you're going to play, because why would you want to be anything else?
Yeah, but Star Trek 2 was the one I kind of had in my back of my head, because Silva has some real Khan energy going on, and I thought that's what I kind of locked into.
Well, Sam, who do you have going up against someone who is made of rich Corinthian leather?
Not rich Corinthian leather for sure. I went with someone that you don't often see him as a villain, and when he's a villain, you don't want him to be a villain. And I kind of get that a little bit from Raul, where he thinks he's right. He thinks he's morally superior. So I went with Oscar Isaac.
Yes. A dashing good looks. Poe Dameron from the Star Wars sequels. He's going to be in the new Dune with that. He's got a magnificent beard in Dune. Ex Machina inside Llewellyn. And then, of course, when he did play a bad guy, it was awful, and it wasn't his fault. But X-Men, that was a waste. A waste of Oscar Isaac.
I agree wholeheartedly.
But yeah, I tried to find.
He was a semi-bad guy in Ex Machina.
He was just an asshole, and there goes my.
Yeah.
He was a kind of a jerk. I have to. Thankfully, we're pre-recorded. I'll beep that out. But he was kind of just a jerk in Ex Machina. He wasn't really the bad guy, though. Kind of was. He's like a Zuckerberg type, really, in that kind of situation.
Yeah. Tech bro.
Yeah. So we got Ricardo Montalban. We've got Oscar Isaac. The judges discussed it, and it went back and forth, and it was no clear winner until Ricardo Montalban gets the point for Richard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ricardo Jensen gets the point. I went with Anthony Quinn, a very young Anthony Quinn, because there's another guy that was intimidating but good looking and did all that stuff, and then when you pop out his jaw, that would be weird. So let's move on to Gareth Mallory, played by Ray Fiennes. He's the chairman of the Intelligence and Security Committee and will be the successor to M. And when you think about an M, he seems like a M in waiting. So Sam, who do you have playing the next M?
I picked someone that is pretty stereotypically right now. He's pretty much making a living right now as being an actor who plays someone in the government in Her Majesty's service. I picked Mark Gatiss specifically as Mycroft Holmes.
Absolutely, because he pretty much, you're right, he plays a lot of British politicians because he's Mycroft and Sherlock. Even in Game of Thrones, he was in the banking situation. He was one of the bankers.
Right.
He's in Good Omens. Obviously, a lot of people know him as a Doctor Who writer, but he did appear in Doctor Who one time. And then he was in this show that they call The League of Gentlemen. So I haven't seen it, but it's him and three other gentlemen, and they did all kinds of things.
I've seen a couple episodes of it. It's fun. It's weird as hell, but it is fun.
Yeah, it's a goofy one, but I don't know it enough to be able to comment on it. But Mark Gatiss is great. I'd like to see him more. He's going to be in the new Mission Impossible movie, so he's probably going to play someone in the government there as well.
When you need someone right now to play a member of the British Secret Service or a British government member, Mark Gatiss is just already there in a suit. Like, where do you need me?
Yes,
I'll be right there.
So, Richard, who do you have to compete against Mark Gatiss?
Well, I went with Doctor Who rules on this one, and I went with somebody who could be best described as a G-damned Englishman. I went with the late, great Roger Livesey.
Now, this one, I tried to find a picture where he'd fit the role, but I think if you saw as him a much older actor, a lot of people would recognize his face. But he's known for a very bizarre family tree. I recommend everyone go to his Wikipedia page to see the flowchart between him and his siblings and their wives and their significant others. It's really weird. It's like his brother married his sister-in-law's sister. It's just weird. So go to that. I've never seen a Wikipedia entry where you needed it said Livesey family, and then they actually had a family tree flowchart. But
I gotta check that out.
He was also in The League of Gentlemen, but in a different one from 1960. I know you have just recently seen The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
One of my favorites. Got the Blu-ray.
I just like the name. Futtock's End is a satire comedy that was in the 70s that he did. He was in The Entertainer and A Matter of Life and Death.
Matter of Life and Death. I have to say, if you say that is a terrific movie, Criterion has it. If you get the Blu-ray for it, it is life-altering.
I forget that Richard gets a dollar every time he says Criterion on the podcast.
Seriously, Peter Becker, call me. I want to do some business with you.
So we have Mark Gatiss, Roger Livesey, and what I can only call an upset, Roger Livesey gets this one because I'm not gonna lie. Our judges know their stuff. It's not like we just have randos. Our judges know who Roger Lively was. They also know who Mark Gatiss is, but it's just I thought that was the one that shocked me the most. I went with David Niven.
Oh,
a former James Bond. He was in Casino Royale as James Bond, but he was in the
wacky one.
He was in the wacky one with Allen. What's his name now? I can't think of his name. Woody Allen. There you go.
Woody Allen, Peter Sellers.
Yes.
That's a podcast episode.
But he has that same Ray Fiennes elegance to him, so that I liked. Well, now we get to the first reimagined version of someone, and that is Moneypenny, played by Naomi Harris. Now, Moneypenny is usually a sexy secretary of M, but here she's an MI6 field agent, and so she's out in the world, and this is the first time we see her actually have some hubba time with James Bond. It's all been flirtatious banter, but here, Daniel Craig is a man of action. He's not a man of words, and so he's not going to flirt. He's going to get down. So, Richard, who do you have playing Miss Moneypenny?
I went with Zoe Saldana.
Saldana.
Saldana, thank you. I butchered her last name.
You did. You butchered that one so bad. So, Zoe Saldana, why Zoe?
Well, again, she's got that same energy as Harris. She's tough. She's smart. She's freaking gorgeous, and I think she would have good chemistry with Craig.
She would. I would think she and I would get along quite well. But
nah,
probably beat you up.
Well, that's all. She would only beat me up if there was an issue. I mean, my wife can beat me up if she wanted to, but we don't. That's not kind of relationship we have. But Zoe Saldana, unlike Sigourney Weaver, who kicks aliens' ass, Zoe Saldana is known as being an ass-kicking aliens because she's an avatar. She plays all the colors of the spectrum. She's blue Avatar, green Guardians of the Galaxy. She's in Columbiana. She's in Star Trek movies. And the remake that actually is quite good. It's not as good as the original, but it's still pretty good. Death at a Funeral. So now we're going to get over to Sam. Sam, who do you have playing Miss Moneypenny?
Well, you can tell I just finished marathoning Marvel's Loki because I selected Gugu Mbatha Raw.
I just love her first name.
Her name is wrong as well.
Oh, she's good.
I just love Gugu. That's a great name.
It is. Now, I think that she has sort of especially with imagining a younger James Bond, she has a cute face and will flirt with you, but could also beat you up if she wanted to. And I like that.
Well, she was in A Wrinkle in Time and The Cloverfield Paradox and also in Beauty and the Beast. But yes, I think most people will recognize her as one of the main interrogators in Loki. But also she was Mary Jones's sister in Doctor Who, which I didn't realize. I've not been a big Martha Jones fan in Doctor Who. I thought she fell in love with the Doctor for no reason. It's just like one day she's like, oh, he's so handsome.
I agree.
There was no development like with Rose and all the other people who actually do fall in love. She was just like one day, and then he's like, he doesn't care. He's like, I don't want to talk to her. So we have Zoe Saldana, Gugu Mbatha Raw, and yes, we go with the new up and comer because she is spunky and doing a great job. I went with Helen Mirren.
Oh,
and I will say you can pick any age you want. Literally, you can pick any age over the age of 18 of Helen Mirren as Moneypenny, and it would work. You want 21-year-old Helen Mirren to go up against Daniel Craig? Definitely. 35? Definitely. 55? Definitely. 102? Absolutely. Those who know, we call our dog Gertrude, she's the Helen Mirren of pugs because as she gets older, she gets better looking, just like Helen Mirren. All right.
Love it.
Well, now we have Albert Finney in his final role as Kincaid. He is the gamekeeper of Skyfall Lodge and of the Bond family estate. So he's just kind of like the housekeeper. He's looking after the house. He's kind of like the Alfred without all the extra work. So who do you have playing Kincaid? Sam.
I picked someone that I think we've seen him in a lot of sort of sinister roles, but I love the idea of him being a fatherly figure. I selected Jared Harris.
Nice. He is a second-generation badass, as we know his father, Richard Harris, was a fantastic actor, and I think Jared is just as good as Richard Harris, which is hard to do. So he's been in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which we did on the Matinee Heroes. He's in Lincoln, which we're going to do in December. But he's been around for a while. He was in Far and Away and Natural Born Killers from the 90s. And, of course, he is Moriarty in the Robert Downey Jr. version of Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. So he's always very good. Great in Mad Men and that Chernobyl miniseries. Very good.
I think he's also in the new Foundation series on Apple.
Yes, he is.
Oh, maybe. I was thinking from The Crown. He plays Elizabeth's father.
The Crown is... Yeah, The Crown is turning into Doctor Who, where pretty much everybody who is an actor in England will appear on The Crown at some point. I have not gotten around to see that yet because, inbred monarchy is not my thing. But
it's really, really excellent. I feel icky watching any of the scenes with Charles and Diana because,
yeah,
it's a little like I know it's not too soon, but
it's too soon.
Like it's too soon.
It's always too soon. It's just icky. So
it's
Richard,
like that joke Carson used to make any time he made a joke about Lincoln being assassinated. It's like too soon, can't do Lincoln.
Yeah. So Richard, who do you have playing the old keeper of the Bond family estate?
Actually, I went with someone who was actually considered for the role but did not take it for whatever reason. I went with Sean Connery.
It wasn't that he didn't take it, is that they considered him and they thought it would be too distracting. So we have the original Bond, Sean Connery. So I think he'd be perfect at it, but we got Dr. No, The Man Who Would Be King, Time Bandits, The Untouchables, The Hunt for Red October. I say all these because there's always one. Every single one of those movies we've done here at Matinee Heroes because Sean Connery is the original Matinee Hero.
He's good. And having him in that, I wish they had gotten him for that movie because that would have, there's a distraction element, but it also would have closed so many circles too. It's like when Tarantino originally wanted
Burt Reynolds
for George Spahn, but unfortunately he passed on before the shooting started. That would have been just another like closing a circle because he was big in the 70s and having him kind of at the tail end with Quentin's ode to the 70s.
Well, Sean Connery is great, and I really appreciate The Untouchables because that's when he realized he was a good actor. He realized himself that he was a good actor. I don't think he felt like that. I think he kind of felt like he was James Bond doing other things. But once he did Untouchables, he was letting his hair go. He was showing his gray. It just set him off on a whole new stratosphere of acting. So love Sean Connery. We've got Jared Harris, who's fantastic. Sean Connery, who's fantastic. And you got to go with Sean Connery. And just so you know, we have all picked someone who has been James Bond. So we all went with the gimmick at some point. This time it paid off for Richard, who's up 4-2. But, Sam, you are not out of this yet. There is still a chance because while you didn't get my pick of Nick Nolte, look at that. Does that guy look like he runs a Scottish moor of some sort?
Oh, good Lord. That actually would have been a good choice.
Yeah, and I mumble. And he could do the British accent with a mumble. But I just want that look. He looks fantastic. But there's still a chance for you because we have 2 more points on the board as we get to our final person, and that is Ben Winshaw's Q, the Gadget Master Extraordinaire. And Richard, this is your chance to either seal the deal or fumble it away. So who do you have playing Q, the Gadget Master Extraordinaire?
No pressure.
Oh, good. No pressure.
He has no pressure.
Okay.
Well, he has no pressure. He has no pressure right now. He's ahead.
Well,
You're either going to, no matter what, she's going to tie at the very least or at the very most.
Well, I went with, again, for this new Imagining a Q, they went with somebody very young and they made a point of pointing up he's very young. So I went with somebody also with that young, spunky energy. I went with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
So, again, another American. I think George Livesey is the only British person that you've picked out of this whole cast, except Sean Connery, who's Scottish. So he's always the handsome second guy. We've done this before, Looper, Inception. Super talented guy, very good. But, Sam, it's all about you, so let's get on to your pick. Who do you have playing Q?
No pressure. I also loved that youthful energy, but I really liked the idea of Q being someone that you would not expect to be making this amazing technology. So I went with Riz Ahmed.
Ah,
I think that
absolutely.
it would be a really interesting flex to see him just even dressed in sort of casual clothing, being like, oh, by the way, I'm Q. Nice to meet you. I think it'd be a really fun idea.
And he's a very good actor. I mean, he's a rising star. It's not just he's in a lot of things, but he's in a lot of quality things. Sound of Metal, you know, I was surprised he didn't win an Oscar for that. He was so good in that. He plays kind of a techie pilot guy in Rogue One. He was in Venom, Nightcrawler, Jason Bourne. He's been around. Very good. So let's take a look. You need 2 points. So we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We've got Riz Ahmed. So right off the bat, we need Riz Ahmed, and the judges decided, Sam, you get that point.
Oh.
Now we have to think, does Craig like Riz Ahmed? And I believe I just picked him either a week or two ago for one of my recasts, because Riz Ahmed is great. But before we get to that, just a quick reminder that we need subscribers. We are about 25 shy. This is a little older, but we got about 75 subscribers. We need 25 to get our custom URL, and then I will not bother you anymore. Please, if you haven't, head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff. You'll find links to YouTube. Head over that way because there's a very convoluted URL. So head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Really would appreciate it. Make up an account and fake it. Just do something so we can get those numbers up.
I'm subscribed, so I get half a point.
Yeah.
I'm subscribed too, so that cancels you out.
Yes.
Aw, dang it.
I should hope that you're both subscribed because you're on the show enough times. So let's go back to Riz Ahmed. I really liked him in that HBO movie, One Night. It Happened One Night, where
Is
he
it the night after?
the night after or something like that. He was exceptional in that. That's with we've got I can't remember his name off the top of my head. My brain is getting old, but the guy with the feet wrap. He's always wrapping his feet. It was gross, but he was great in it. But I went with Tom Hiddleston, and that means
Ooh,
Richard.
excellent selection.
Richard, you are today's winner, and I went with Tom Hiddleston from the. There's a Danish movie, television series that he and Kenneth Branagh are on. He plays. This is back before he has really curly hair and he looks like a goober. So
Is it Wallander?
it is Wallander. Thank you.
Half a point.
That was actually the job that got him Thor because
Branagh.
Greg
Yes.
remembered. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's also worked with Branagh on stage as well. So you have today's final thought. So Richard Jensen, what is today's final thought?
Well, today's final thought is I'm going to be in Los Angeles for the Silicon Beach Film Festival on October 1st. My short will be screening in the D Block starting at 3:30 at the Chinese Theater. Tickets, there's a ticket link on the pinned tweets on both of my Twitter accounts, The Raging Celt and Celtic Ray Film. So if you're in the LA area, check us out. Come by, say howdy.
I don't know if they say howdy in LA, but they say hello. But
hello, howdy. I'm not going to be picky about this.
But
Acknowledge my existence. That's all I want.
That's all he wants is a knowledge of existence. Say hey, say hello. Well, thank.
Howdy, then we'll know that you also.
That's
watch.
the secret phrase.
There you
That's
go.
right. There you go. Well, we still have more coming on. So next week we go back to Fan X as we did live, and we did a Broken Family as Troy Mangum goes up against his brother in a rematch. He goes up against the great Tracy Mangum. And not only do they have to recast this movie, which is very difficult, Glengarry Glenn Ross, they have to do it with Muppets. And they have to do it with voices. And they do a fantastic job, and they do a horrible job of doing it with Muppets.
Oh,
my goodness, I can't
I
wait.
have to see that.
It was a fantastic. If you weren't there live, and I know a lot of you weren't, it was a fantastic panel. We had 2 episodes. Both were great. It was exactly how I wanted to do it. We've done it live in the past, but this time we had our own room. We had the video. It was perfect. So I want to thank the FanX family for having a great setup, especially Blake for putting that up for us. But if you weren't there, you have to listen to The Mangum Brothers rematch Glengarry, Glenn Ross as Muppets. Want to be on the show? It's very easy. Just head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff/application, and you too could be on the show. That's how Sam got to us. Sam was referred to us by someone, and she filled out an application, and I went, she doesn't seem like she's crazy. Little did I know, but we still had her on anyways. So you can head over to email me at mhcastoff@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at The Castoff Show, where we have a Facebook group with Matinee Heroes. Of course, matineeheroes.com/castoff to find the video links. One of them is twitch.tv/Matinee Heroes. And special thanks to our judges, Austin Vashaw, who was our last live winner, as we had a Comic Palooza recap last time. And, of course, Brendan Agnew, who will be on Matinee Villains Month as we do Scream. And so, really appreciate them and all that they do for us. But on behalf of Sam Mattos and tonight's winner, Richard Jensen, this is The Castoff. See you next week.